Captain Tuto loved sailing freely across the seas with his ship. One night, a storm broke out, and his ship sank. Captain Tuto managed to survive by clinging to a piece of wood, but he was carried around by the waves. When the sun rose, he found himself on an island. In the middle of the island, there was a huge tree. He began to explore the island after washing ashore. After wandering for a while, he realized that the island was a magical place where fairies and witches lived. Then, he sat under a large tree and pondered about what to do on the island. While Captain Tuto was lost in thought, the wicked-hearted witches, who noticed his arrival, prepared a lavish feast and invited him to their territory. At the end of the feast, one of the witches said to Captain Tuto, "You can make yourself a ship by cutting down the great tree. This way, you can escape from the island." "What a great idea," said another witch. Then, they gave Captain Tuto a magical axe. With these thoughts in mind, Captain Tuto left and approached the great tree. He looked around and said, "Yes, if I make a ship from this tree, I can escape from the island and sail freely across the seas again." At that moment, the good-hearted fairies, who lived on the other side of the island, came to Captain Tuto. He told the fairies about what had happened, and they warned him, "The great tree is magical and essential for our island. Every year during migration season, migratory birds come here and rest on the tree. You shouldn't cut down the great tree." Then, the fairies left Captain Tuto. Captain Tuto pondered all night. "Should I make a ship from the great tree to save myself, or should I not cut down the great tree for the birds to rest?" When morning came, the good-hearted fairies and wicked-hearted witches gathered around the great tree. Captain Tuto was there with his axe. While the wicked-hearted witches shouted, "You should cut down the tree. This way, you can make a ship for yourself." "Cut, cut." The good-hearted fairies shouted, "You shouldn't cut down the tree, you should think about the birds." "Don't cut, don't cut." Then suddenly, there was silence. Captain Tuto raised his axe. Everyone watched eagerly to see what would happen. Captain Tuto swung his axe and threw it into the sea. "Even for myself, I cannot cut down a single tree," he said. Thus, the witches' plan to make magical brooms from the great tree fell apart. The fairies thanked Captain Tuto with joy, then migratory birds began to appear in the sky. They perched on the tree. The leader of the birds learned what had happened. He turned to Captain Tuto and said, "If you had cut down this tree, there would be no other place for us to rest on our migration route. The birds wouldn't be able to cross the ocean and complete their migration journey without resting. There would be no birds left on Earth." He gathered the birds and explained what had happened. Then he came to Captain Tuto and said, "You thought about the birds by not cutting down the tree. So we will make a basket for you and rescue you from this magical island." And they saved Captain Tuto from the magical island, setting him free.